Hello and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Today's guest is Ryan Tern.
Hey, what's going on, y'all?
Yes. Cheers. We love applause. Nice. Well, thank you, Ryan, for being here. I really appreciate it. You're my first remote interview, so this is going to be a fun new experience for both of us. So let's see. I'll just start off with, how I know you and whatnot. Um, well, for those who don't know, Ryan is my online fitness coach. So I've been working with him for about, I want to say a year and a half. It's been since April 2023. So I was referred to you by my friend Justin, who knew you, and then I saw your contents that you put out and your website, and I was like, okay, this guy definitely knows what he's talking about. He has abs, or at least in one of his photos. I'm like, okay, so he knows how to work out, he knows how to lose weight, and all this other stuff. And you have a lot of clients, and you have a reputation of success. And my friend Justin is like pretty fit too. So I'm like, okay, well, if my friend has a coach, he probably definitely knows what he's doing. And so you have a record of helping clients find success, and you were recommended by my friend. So for me, that's like a recipe for being sold. And then I think when I was looking it up, you also do Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, powerlifting, and you do obstacle races. Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Nice,
I'm pretty much a jack of all trades. I like to do a bunch of different things that are new to me,
nice.
fitness wise.
Yeah. Anything else that you like doing for fun or for fitness, or even outside of that?
Yeah, honestly, recently I've been getting really into golf. So another like
Mm,
fitness thing.
yeah,
Gets me outdoors. I get some sunlight, and it's I just like being a beginner at things. It's
yeah.
hard.
Same. Like golf, like a range, or like a full golf course, or like mini golf.
Oh, I'm on the golf course. I suck.
Nice.
Like my I suck, but I'm still going out there.
Nice. It's all good. Yeah, I
hmm
think we're probably the same. Like, they just like being a beginner is always nice, right? Because you get to try something new, and there's only up from there, right?
That's for sure.
Cool. All right. So I guess I'll go straight into it. So first topic is basically just your origin story, and then kind of like fitness and nutrition. So, um, I guess first question is really like, where were you born, raised, family dynamics, and like what did you study, or what did you imagine your career would be when you were younger?
Yeah, sure thing. So I'm born and raised in Oakland, California.
Bay
Um,
Area.
yeah, family dynamics. I'm me an American, so we're kind of like a small ethnic tribe that came from Southeast Asia, and because of that, we're pretty like tight knit in terms of family. So growing up, we had like 13 people living in one house, and I just thought that was normal. We're just all crammed in one house, like always noisy,
Mhm.
things like that, and yeah, I went to college. I studied psychology. Growing up, I kind of always thought I was going to be everything. I would tell people, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna be an astronaut. I'm gonna be a lawyer. I'm gonna be this." Just typical kid stuff. But when I started kind of trying to weave a path, I wanted to be more of someone who can give back. Because in high school, I had a lot of teachers, a lot of mentors who helped me out, and I wanted to do the same thing. So I went down the psychology route, hoping to go into school counseling, and yeah, I ended up in personal training.
So how did you uh how did you go from college psychology into training? Like could you explain like that sort of transition from there? Like, did you graduate and be like, "You know what? I like working out. Let me just do this," or was there like a catalyst that led you down that route?
Yeah, of course. So after I graduated for psychology, you got to go back for your master's to get into school counseling,
Mm.
and it costs some money to go to master's school. So
Yeah.
so after college, I was like, all right, I gotta make some money. So I tried to figure out what job I should get, and at the time, I was really into fitness. I think at that moment, I was really into the powerlifting stuff. So I was lifting really heavy in the gym often. So I just thought, all right, let me give this a try. I went and got my personal training certification, and basically tried to see if I could make a hobby into a passion, or basically make some money before I go back into school counseling or
Mm,
going back to school.
mm. So then how did you start like lifting weights and stuff like that? Like, where did you work out with friends, or you're just like, "Oh, I want to get fit," or did you do sports or something like that?
Mhm. Okay, so the origin story with that is when I was a kid, growing up in Oakland, the specific area I grew up in. It's a majority Black and brown folks. So I was like the one small Asian kid that just stuck out a lot. And yeah, luckily for me, I had an uncle who lived in the same house who was really into fitness. He'd just do push-ups, sit-ups, things like that. And growing up, I just didn't want to get picked on. So I was like, all right, what should I do? All right, I should probably work out. So with that, I just worked out with my uncle, did whatever he did. Back then, fitness information wasn't as readily available as it is now. So we just hammered out a bunch of body weight stuff, push-ups, sit-ups. We would just run around the block. And so that's how I got started. In middle school, high school, I just thought I was the buffest guy ever doing push-ups and sit-ups. But if you look back at my photos, I was pretty scrawny.
Mm. So you were
Mhm.
so
And
since middle school and high school, you were kind of like active in fitness, whatnot.
yeah, I basically tried. I it gave me some confidence, and that's kind of key. Growing up where I'm at, I wanted
Mm,
to make sure, all right, make sure no one messes with me.
nice. Did you do any sports, or was it like, or did you were you mostly like school studying, or like aside from fitness?
Aside from fitness, in school, I was actually doing a lot of community organizing in high school. So I was a part of this nonprofit called APAL, and we were working at the time to try and get ethnic studies um, become a requirement to graduate high school. So I was kind of
Okay.
doing a lot of random things. Yeah.
Okay. And then where did you go to school, like our college?
College. I went to community college first, Laney College, College of Alameda, the whole Peralta college system here in Oakland, and then I went to UC Davis to complete my bachelor's for psychology.
Okay, okay. Okay, cool. Nice. So then I guess getting back into fitness. So you said that you started off like, working out or learning from your uncle from like middle school, high school, and then study psychology. And then after you graduated, then you're kind of like, okay, I need to make some money. Let me just try to turn this hobby into like something I can make money off of. Was there anything else like in that journey that kind of led you down to this, or was there a certain point where you're like, I could do this like more seriously or whatnot?
Mhm. Um, Thinking back on it all, no, I think fitness was just a big part of my personality at the moment. I didn't talk about it much, but during college is when things started getting a little bit more serious for my lifting.
Mm,
I went to the gym more with my friends, and that's when I started to really get into learning how to actually lift and build muscle, nutrition, everything like that. So the college years is kind of where it's really formative on um, on all my education with fitness, and yeah, I think that's pretty much what led to the decision where I wanted to go into this as a career.
I see, I see. Did you have any like aside from your uncle, like any mentors or like resources that you where you learned like actual fitness and nutrition and whatnot?
hmm right around the time I started becoming a personal trainer, I had a mentor. He's my cousin. His name's Liam Seychow. He owns a gym out in Oakland,
Mm,
and luckily he took me under his wing when I was trying to get into this all.
mm.
So luckily I had someone to shadow at the time just to learn.
Nice, that's good.
Mhm.
Just like a quick tangent, but then like how did you get into like Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and like obstacle races and I think you mentioned Muay Thai in your website. Like how did that all come into play?
Yeah, yeah. So I think there's a lot of moments in my life where I pivot pretty randomly. I do a bunch of random things. As you can tell, I went from psychology to personal training. So I think there was this moment where I was working at a big box gym at the time. It was Fitness 19, and one of my coworkers was practicing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, and he was talking about it. And you know, growing up, I always wanted to learn how to fight. I did a little boxing in high school, but nothing too crazy. And I think that was like a perfect opportunity when my coworker mentioned it. I was like, oh man, I always talk about wanting to do something, so I should just do it. So I went and signed up for a class, and from there, I just kind of didn't look back. I'm still trying to go consistently, still trying to learn, and yeah, I just like doing weird pivots like that.
Mm. Is what's the like your favorite part about doing um Do you mostly do jujitsu or do you kind of just do everything equally?
Oh no, yeah, I'm much more heavily focused on jujitsu. So I'm
Okay.
going to Muay Thai classes like here and there, but
Mm.
most of my focus is trying to learn how to grapple better.
Oh, I see. I see. Do you like compete or anything, or is it more just like you're just there for the classes just to learn?
I'm there to learn. I compete. I've only competed once.
Mm.
So after my first year of doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, I kind of wanted to see where my skills were. So I went and joined a competition. Nerve wracking, heart
Yeah.
was racing, and I didn't get submitted, but I did lose the competition pretty
Mm.
bad.
Oh, I see. I see. I was about to ask like how it went. I'm sure
uh,
competition's tough.
Mhm. Yeah, there was a specific moment in my first match where I knew that I wasn't ready to
Mm.
compete.
Hmm.
This is like this really buff guy. He's like 160, and he grabbed a hold of me, and I knew I was going to get tossed. I was like, "Oh,
Uh,
this was a bad idea."
yeah.
And he threw me in the air. Judo threw me.
Dang, you're like mistakes are made. How do they pair you up? Is it by like skill level or is it weight? Like how do they do that?
Yeah, so when you're at a jujitsu competition, they pair you by your skills, so white belt, blue belt,
Gotcha.
purple, brown, black, and then they also do weight classes.
Mm.
So I made the mistake of not trying to actually join a proper weight class.
Mm.
I just thought, oh, I'll go there for some experience.
Mhm.
So I joined basically like a weight class above me. I was 142 at the time, and then that kind of put me in the bracket of the 141 to like 160 class.
Mm.
So I was rolling with some bigger folks.
Ah, I see. And you're like,
Mhm.
"See, there you go. You gained all the experience on the floor."
Oh yeah.
Nice. Okay, so I think let's pivot back. So one of my questions I guess in terms of like fitness and nutrition, so like I mentioned, like you definitely know what you're talking about. You service clients all over, and you help them get results. So I guess what are some of the most important things that you learn that maybe other people get wrong about fitness or nutrition or weight loss or strength training in general? Could be multiple answers, but what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, thoughts on that. I think one thing, well, for sure, just going off of fitness, one thing that folks get wrong is that they think they have to work out like super often, like 6 days a week when they first start out. Um, and that's kind of not the case when it comes to my approach, or yeah, my approach to fitness and nutrition. I honestly like to focus on what's realistic for you at this moment in time. So, although 6 days a week can be really great for progress right out the gate, if it's not realistic, you're not going to stick to that plan. So I think that's a common misconception. Everyone tries to start real fast, and then they'll burn out and end up trying again in like 2 3 months. So I always say, as long as you approach it nice and slow,
Mm,
you'll you can kind of build a level of confidence in yourself, like, okay, I can make it to the gym, okay, I can eat a little bit better, and from
mhm,
there you just build on.
mm.
So that's definitely one mistake I see a lot of folks make, just trying to be go too hard
Go too
when their
hard too
motivation's
fast.
high. Yep.
Mm. Was there a specific like unlock for you in your journey? Like, let's say before you became a trainer or something like that, where you're like, oh, wow, I never really realized this and I was doing this wrong. Was there something like that for you?
Yes, I think one major thing for me was getting into calorie counting at the time.
Mm,
I think when I was learning about everything, it was out of if it fits macros movement. So I was getting really into the nitty gritty of weighing all my food and things like that. And it got to the point where it got really obsessive. I would weigh out like 28 almonds or something like that.
mm-hmm.
Make sure it's like down to the T.
28 and a
And
half
whenever,
almonds.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And then whenever someone wanted to take one, I like kind of freak out a little bit in my brain, like, oh man, I'm gonna have to recalculate everything. So I think that was one huge mistake I made. It's one thing, of course, I do advocate, trying to track all your food every now and then, like maybe do a week or a month where you see what you're eating. But I got really obsessive with it, and there was no one there to really pull the reins on me and tell me, "Hey, I think things are getting kind of crazy here. You should you should dial it back."
Mm. Yeah. I few things there really resonated with is like the whole so like I also used to I used to but I still do like weigh out my stuff.
Mm,
So my meal
mm,
preps are weighed. So I want to know exactly what I'm getting out of that, right? So I know the macros and stuff. And so
mm.
sometimes when I'm like my girlfriend comes over and like, we haven't eaten yet. I'm like, oh well I have something to eat. And then she hasn't eaten and I'm like, okay, and she's like looking at me like my food. I'm like, do you want to bite? And she's like, sure. And I'm like, great, now my macros are off, thanks. So and but it's fine. It's like whatever. And the second thing is too, because I don't know if I mentioned to you before, but like back in 2018, I had another online like a fitness coach as well, and
Mhm,
he had me on like the similar thing, which is like weighing everything, dialing in all the macros and the calories, and like
mhm,
I did it for a year, and it definitely worked. But like you said, the obsessiveness was kind of like it kind of made it more I don't know how to say, like, bothersome when I have to go out and I know that I'm, like, definitely not dialing it in for that day. And so it's a lot less flexible and a lot more stressful in that sense. Like, not crazy stressful, but just enough where I'm like, this is kind of annoying and I can see why it's not sustainable. Which is why I really appreciated like your approach, which is like, okay, generally we try to get the wins where we can, and like the more you dial it in, the better your results will get, and that's what I found to be true. Like, yeah, I have leeway here and there, but if I dial it in, I'll get better results. But also, don't be too hard on myself. If I don't dial it in for like a couple days or something like that, just get back on the horse. And that's kind of like what I appreciate about your approach too.
mhm. Yeah, it definitely comes down to managing everything. Like life changes. There are going to be moments where you have to get really what's the word that I'm looking for? You'll be really unbalanced.
Mm,
So, like you said, you might want to lock in on your nutrition, and that might mean that your social energy might change because you won't want to go out as much. Um,
mm.
so, just as long as you're managing your expectations with everything that you're doing in your life, I think that's where you'll find the best. What's the word I'm looking for? You'll
Like better results if you find that balance that works for you.
Yeah, and then I guess overall you'll just be less stressed out. That's
Right.
that's what I was trying to say because yeah, if you're constantly thinking about trying to stay on top of things, you just stress yourself out and then you just burn out over time.
Yeah, definitely. Quick tangent. Well, I have this random thought that popped into my head. So a couple of days ago, I was hanging out with my friend, and he's
Mhm.
like, "Can I have a hug?" I'm like, "Sure." So I gave him a hug, and he's like, "Dude, JR, shout out to your trainer because like your back muscles like are just crazy." And I'm like, it was so yeah. So that compliment to you, and then I was like, "Wait a minute." I'm the one doing all the work though. Like I'm doing these pull downs. Like I get it. I get the guidance and everything and I appreciate it. But like that was my response at the time. And he's like, oh. And I was like, yeah, we love when our friends objectify us as like I was joking. And then I
uh,
kind of gave him a look and I was like, no, I'm just playing. I like being objectified. That's why I go out to work out. So, but
mhm.
yeah, just so yeah, shout out to my fitness coach Ryan because I got a compliment. So it's always a good thing. Anything else on fitness or nutrition or like there's something that maybe you learned on your journey that you feel like people get wrong?
um, let's see. I think definitely one thing that a lot of people get wrong is I'm just keep trying to hammer this idea in is like you can't mess it up. A lot of people always beat themselves up like I couldn't make it to the gym.
Mm,
I couldn't stay on top of my diet this week. We got the rest of our lives to practice this. And if you just keep beating yourself up, it just prolongs how like the difficulty. It makes it harder for you to actually reach the goal that you're trying to reach. So if you just reframe everything, just tell yourself like, yeah, I can't mess this up. I made a mistake this week, but next week is another week to try. I think as long as you have that mindset, you'll be less stressed going into this whole fitness journey.
yeah, I like that a lot. And we'll get back to like mindfulness and like habit change and all that stuff in a bit. So I want to take it's not really a pivot actually, but kind of the topic of like being a fitness coach, right? So you mentioned that, well, my first question is kind of like, what made you want to transition into being a coach? But I think you were mentioning that like you wanted to help people and give back, and then maybe turning this like sort of hobby into like a career. Were there any other sort of factors that made you kind of like look into coaching seriously?
I think it just goes back to me wanting to be a teacher too.
Mm,
To be honest, I'm not the best teacher. I'm still learning how to coach better. But yeah, I wanted to challenge myself. Like, okay, let me see. Like, I'm able to give myself results
Mm,
in the gym. Can I help? Can I help other people?
right.
At that time, I wrote programs for some friends or just brought them through workouts, but I've never actually like worked with someone to try and reach their goals. And a funny story I have about that is when I first started my personal training job at the big box gym, Fitness 19. Um, one thing people don't tell you about personal training is there's really no guidelines. You're not going to be prepared for your
Mm,
first client. Um, I felt like I got thrown to the wolves on my first day. So they trained us. You do your certification. They're like, all right, you should. This is how you strength train. This is how your nutrition should look. But the moment you get on the floor and you work with your first client, it's like they're like, okay, here you go. My first client that I worked with was like this 60 something year old woman. She had knee pain, back pain, something that as a young person at the time and people that I worked with didn't have too much. So I'm just like, all right, well, shoot, well, what am I supposed to do with this person? And yeah, it was a pretty scary experience. And I think you learn as you go, and no one's ever really ready. Or it's basically what I'm saying. I felt like I was not. There was no roadmap on how I should do this properly.
nice. So what did you end up doing, and or what did you learn from that experience of like having a client that was out of your normal like demographic of people you've coached?
Mhm. I think I learned to definitely at the time regress and learn. It really taught me that general population looks a lot different than what I expected,
Mm,
which is a lot of people are injured, so you should learn how to accommodate for them. So during that session, I just tried my best to regress movements. Again, like I said at the time, I was a power lifter, so I'm just only thinking, all right, back squat, deadlift,
mm.
bench press. Those are like the main things I
Easy.
focused on.
60-year-old woman, easy. You could do it.
Yeah, like just put that barbell on your back. No
Yeah.
problem.
Here, I'll load up the plates for you.
uh, but no, I definitely had to learn how to regress movements better, and that was the starting point. So I had to just do some box squats. We did some TRX work, and it ended up being fine. But yeah, it was a definitely a scary experience.
I see. I see. So regressing movements. On that, like, are there what do you think are the best parts of being a coach or coaching, and what do you think are some of like the biggest challenges on your end?
I think definitely one of the enjoyable parts of coaching is seeing folks reach their goals. Like nothing makes me happier when someone's like, "Hey, I looked in the mirror today and I like the way I look," and you know, that's all I can wish for. Rather than trying to focus on certain things like body weight, things like that. I do want folks to basically feel comfortable in their skin. Everyone wants to feel comfortable in their skin at the end of the day, whether that's however you want to look like. Um, so that's one thing that I really enjoy about coaching. Another one is when I give proper instruction and I see a light bulb turn on in my
Mm,
clients. It happens a lot more now, but in the beginning, it was like, okay, I didn't. What kind of cue should I give them? Um, so yeah, just being able to teach things properly makes me pretty happy. And what was the last part of your question, Joe?
yeah, like what are some of the biggest challenges that come with coaching, or maybe specifically fitness coaching, but anything in general?
Mhm. Yeah, okay. So I think one of the biggest challenges with coaching, or the biggest challenges that I've run into, is becoming too invested into clients.
Mm,
So like I said, I get really happy when clients are doing right. They're doing what they're supposed to do and they're seeing results. And then on the flip side, when they're not doing things properly and they're starting to feel down on themselves, I can't help but empathize and feel what they're feeling. They're really sad. I'm like, oh man, how can I change this? And it's I'm still a work in progress, but I've been working on just trying to take a step back. Understand that this is part of their journey. I shouldn't feel super invested in it. I am there to help guide them, but I can't solve their problems. I'm just there to give them give them the proper guidance to reach the answers that they're looking for.
I see. Do you ever come across a point where you feel like Okay, I think me and this client are probably not a good fit. Have you ever come across that before?
Yeah, I came across that point one time. Um, I had this client that I was working with who was really swamped with a bunch of work. Stress was just overloaded, and every time we would meet up for our sessions, this client just wouldn't be there. They needed a lot of guidance when it came to proper movement,
Mm,
but they just weren't like they weren't listening anymore at the end of the day. Like I would give instructions and they just couldn't process it. And it got to the point where I just realized like, yeah, this is the point. They're not ready to do the coaching. And it was kind of tough to come to that realization, but we kind of took a step back and decided not to work with each other anymore. But yeah, that definitely came up.
yeah, I would imagine that happens too because it's like as much as you want to help everyone, sometimes maybe like as a coach or a trainer, like okay, maybe we're just not the best fit, or like you said, maybe you're not in the right space for it or whatnot, or not trying to blame the other person, right? But it's more just like maybe it's
Mhm,
not a good fit. There might be some better coaches out there that are more, better fit for you. Um,
mhm. Yeah.
yeah. Okay, so then I guess my last question on this topic is, so let's say I'm just a like a the question is, why should people get coaching or fitness coaching? So someone like myself, for example, like I've been working out for a while now, and I've learned from like my dad and like other mentors or friends and stuff like that, or maybe like I think, or maybe I could be someone else who's like, I've worked out here and there, and I think I can just get by without a coach. And coaches are expensive, obviously, than just having a gym membership, or I can just work out at home, or maybe I am an athlete or a power lifter. And like, I don't need a coach. What are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think people need a coach, or what are the benefits of that from any of those stages or phases?
Yeah, I think for sure getting a coach is helpful. It's not necessary. Say that right off the bat. You don't need a coach, but there are just so many benefits of having one. So let's just use my whole fitness journey as an example. I didn't have any coaching. I had to do all the research, meaning, okay, I had to figure out what's the proper way to work out. Am I doing this right? You just do a lot of like plug and chug. Okay, ooh, that hurt my elbow. I probably shouldn't do that. With food, it's like, okay, protein. How do I get that in? Let me look it up. Okay, cool. This is what I'm supposed to do. Um, oh, oops! I developed a slight eating disorder from tracking my macros so often. Let me figure out how to dial that back. Um, you can do everything yourself. A lot of trial and error, but ultimately, if you had a coach with you, it just shortens the process. It's someone who's a professional in whatever they're doing, whether that's whether that's fitness coaching, financial coaching, you name it. Having someone who's done the thing and kind of knows what kind of pitfalls usually pop up in the whole journey helps lessen the amount of stress that you're going to go through to reach your ultimate goal. So, yeah, I mean, I'm all for coaching. I still get coaching myself. Um, yeah, I mean, I was recently working with a nutrition coach probably 2 years ago, and it just helps add an extra layer of accountability. Even though you could do it yourself, having someone there to help keep you accountable is just it's just a huge win.
Mhm. Yeah, I definitely second that. Um, Especially like so I'm a relationship coach. I don't know if I mentioned that to you. Like I got certified recently. And
Mhm,
one of the things I learned through my coaching program is that you should never, or, to your own, like your own risk tolerance, but it's never a good thing to hire a coach who does not have a coach. Right? Because it's like, why would you hire someone who doesn't believe in the thing that they say that they're selling, right? And
mhm,
so I think I see that too. Like I believe in the power of coaching, like whether or not you can do it yourself. I think you just save a lot of, like you said, the headaches of trying to figure it out yourself. It's like a shortcut way of getting advice from a mentor or a coach or something like that. Someone who's done it will save you so much time. But even more than that, like for me personally, the reason why I have a fitness coach is the accountability, because the workouts, like how to do them and the nutrition, like I've done all of that before. Like I've gotten results from my last fitness coach. And the thing that I've been missing for these last like 5 years is the accountability. And for me, that's what I'm mostly paying for. I think I've like mentioned that to you and like, to the audience is for me paying the extra amount that I'm paying for coaching on top of like my gym membership is completely worth the accountability because like, why would I pay for, let's say, a $20 gym membership and get 0 results when but if I pay for a coach that's more than that, but I get the exact results that I want because of the accountability, why would I not do that 10 times out of 10, right? Because essentially, I'd be wasting money at just the gym anyways, so I might as well pay extra to have accountability, to have those, best practices and shortcuts, and then I get the results that I want. I think I'm paying for the result, not just to have a membership for fun, you know? So yeah, that's my little spiel. And like, I also really believe in coaching and just finding guidance and mentorship.
Mm. Yeah, I
Um,
really kind of,
yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say I really resonated with you when you said that it's kind of weird if you have a coach that doesn't have a coach. I think being in the whole coaching space, you're always trying to learn how to be a better coach, how to help guide someone. And working with other coaches in my life, I've kind of got a lot of different, you know, um, nuggets of knowledge from them, even though different fields is okay. I never thought about motivating someone in this way, and I'll take that from them and try and put that into my own practice. So I'm all with your statement there. Get some coaching from a coach who
Yeah,
has a coach.
definitely, definitely. Especially if you want results, right? If you're not getting the results you want, then you have to do something different. So might as well get a coach.
Mhm.
Okay, so maybe quick pivot then, if we're on that topic. So last topic is gratitude, mindfulness, and habit change. So I know this is something that you mentioned in our forum that like you might want to speak on. So first question, just easy, is like, what is the importance of gratitude and mindfulness? I guess in your own life, but also I think maybe in general for people out there.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. The value of gratitude for me specifically, growing up, I had a lot of anger issues. It might have not shown, out in the open, but I would just always be upset with myself. Just be mad at things, especially I would fall into the comparison trap a lot too. I'd compare myself to other people, and that's just a bad negative cycle you don't want to fall into. So somewhere around like college time is when I started looking into gratitude and mindfulness. And when I first started practicing it, it did feel kind of weird. You just like so specifically what I use to practice gratitude is a journal called the 5 Minute Journal. You can buy it off of Amazon. It's a great little journal. It takes, like it's like the name implies, it takes 5 minutes to do every day. And you have to list three things that you're grateful for in the beginning of the day. So that as soon as you wake up, you pull your journal out and you start writing. So three things I'm grateful for. And when I first started this, I felt like, I was just writing some random stuff. It didn't feel genuine. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm grateful for, a house to live under. I'm grateful for fitness. I just didn't really feel attached, or I didn't really feel into doing the whole gratitude stuff. And then over time, as I just kept practicing it and practicing it, just really writing every day what I'm grateful for. I don't know when the moment was where things started feeling different in my brain, but I guess one day I just wrote it down and I did just feel grateful for what I had. Like I would write down, I'm grateful for having a functioning body. Like there's some people who don't have, limbs, and who don't have, who can't walk, and I can walk. And just kind of reflecting on that every day helped me out. And I think also with fitness, I'm a big believer that, the body and mind are connected. So that's why I work out. So I work out and I wanted to get my mind right too. So I did the whole gratitude practice to make sure that my mind was in on point too. So that's what gratitude means to me. It really helped me out with being a more happier person. And I do think that more people could benefit from practicing gratitude. Again, even if it feels kind of silly at first to constantly write down, oh yeah, I'm happy for a family, I'm happy for the relationships I have, friends. It seems obvious at first when you're writing it down, but even though it's obvious, you got to take the time to reflect on it. And I think having a practice like that, just reflecting on what you have, does make you overall more happy.
I love it. So like happiness. Have you heard that? Maybe it's Tony Robbins, maybe it's someone else, but that quote of like the best attitude you can have, like attitude of gratitude, or the most powerful attitude you can have is gratitude, and or since gratitude is centered in like the present, and all of our negative emotions are either future focused like anxiety or past focused like depression. when you can kind of take a step back and just figure out what you're grateful for in the moment, it kind of recenters you, kind of like what you're saying. I totally agree with that too. I'll have a similar journaling gratitude practice where it started off with like 5 to 10 things, and I just do a
mm,
free form, like on a digital like a Word doc. But then now in my daily journal entries, like I do minimum 30, and I don't stop until I hit 30, and then sometimes I go to 40, 45, 50, but usually it's like okay, I'm not stopping till I get to 30. And then looking back when I recommend this to people, they're like, "How do you get to 30?" And I'm like, it is hard. It's like a muscle, right? Like it's like you don't do like 50-pound curls immediately. But when you get to that point, it's not hard to realize that I'm grateful for my health, my finances, my family, my friends, my relationship, my car, arriving safely, a bed to sleep. Like you could just keep going on, like water to drink, oxygen to
mm,
breathe. Like there's just so many good things that's like when you do that sort of daily practice, it gets difficult to get so angry at things when you're like, but I have so much already. Like, what makes you, there's another saying that I really like, which is what makes you think you deserve that thing that you want when you're not even grateful for what you have.
mhm,
It's yeah, you know, so I totally agree with that.
mhm.
Um,
I do.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
How does I know you mentioned like for happiness, but how does gratitude mindfulness play into like your clients or like with coaching and for example, like do you feel like there are some clients who might need that little like coaching outside of fitness to be like, mindfulness or gratitude? Has that ever come into play?
Um, I think it does. So when I'm thinking about how I try and push the gratitude agenda onto my clients, usually a lot of folks get into the whole fitness journey because you want to be healthier, you want to look different, especially in the social media age. You're constantly seeing people like buff, ripped,
Mm,
big butt, big chest, things like
mhm,
that, and you can't help but fall into that comparison trap, like I was talking about earlier. And I think when it comes to working with my clients, although we are focusing on the fitness, we are focusing on the nutrition. It is good every now and then to slip in these little nuggets of gratitude, like reminding them that hey, even though you might not feel happy about your body today, look at what you did. You lifted 25 pounds with the Romanian deadlifts or something like that. Just constantly reminding them that, hey, even though right now you might not be feeling it, um, you still are this. Like you still are doing good in this part of your fitness, or even though you feel like you should be eating more protein, like you're still getting this amount of vegetables. Just trying to reframe things rather than being like, I didn't reach this goal. Just focusing on the positives rather than the negatives.
I see.
And
Sorry, go
Mhm.
ahead.
And I think, yeah, and I was gonna say just with like the whole gratitude journaling, it's like that, right? Rather than focusing on the negative aspects of life, like you said, or focusing on the future, past, you're focusing now. This is what I can do, and I'm grateful for that.
Mm, definitely, yeah, I like that. Another thing I want to go back to is like you mentioned, like the mind and the body is connected. Um, one thought I had from that is like I'm a big believer that your body is a reflection of like your inner, like your mind of what's going on
Mhm,
inside. So I feel like, maybe it's not a really a good not generalization, but kind of like a quick judgment of someone when it's like, "Oh, they're fit." They, like how do I say this? In a positive way, when I see someone who's fit, I see like discipline, like delayed self gratification, someone who can commit to something, someone who is willing to go through the pain for something else. And you can obviously spin it in a negative, like, oh, they're narcissistic, whatever, right? But I see it
mhm,
as like if I see someone who works out consistently and they're fit and they like appreciate their body and they treat it like a temple, I think that's a good reflection of their inner self, right? And kind of like what you were saying too, it's like you can't also have those outer results that you want if you don't also work on your inner self, which is like the mindfulness and gratitude. Because if you're angry and stressed out all the time, you probably can't do your best work and then do the things that you want. You know what I mean? I think that
mhm,
was like very insightful. Sorry, another thing I wanted to touch on is habit change. Something that I think you're really good at helping your clients with, and I think that's part of the game, right? Of getting people to their fitness goals. How do you see like habit change, and like maybe what are some of the biggest insights you can pass along about how to develop good or better habits?
Yeah, when it comes to habit change, it is I kind of view it. It's pretty simple to change a habit, but it doesn't mean that it's easy.
Mm,
Um, so the main thing that I really like to focus on when it comes to habit change is making sure that you make it as easy as possible. Going back on the idea of trying to start too many things at once when you're getting into your fitness journey. Usually, once you burn out, you lose confidence, and once you lose confidence, you don't really feel confident about yourself anymore. You're like, oh man, maybe I can't do this. So when it comes to habit change, I do like to hammer in the fact that let's make it. I like to use a scale of 1 to 10 when we're trying to figure out how easy or how hard this is. So I'll always ask clients, okay, if let's say if you want to work out, how realistic is it for you to work out twice a week? If it's a 9 out of 10, perfect. We'll do 2 times a week. We'll schedule that into their workout sessions. But let's say we say, how realistic is it for you to work out 3 times a week? And they're like, oh, probably a 7 out of 10.
mm,
At that point, I'll say, okay, let's just do 2 times a week then and build on that. So you want to give yourself as many wins as possible so you can feel like, hey, I'm a person who goes to the gym. So the more rocks you put into that basket of I'm a gym goer or I'm a person who eats my protein, you build up this image of yourself in your head, which is what ultimately habit change is. Because no one just wakes up one day and decides, uh, I'm a bodybuilder or I'm a power lifter. You kind of work towards that. And I think that's the trap we fall into a lot. Uh, immediate, we want immediate results, but things don't work that way. You have to delay that, like you said, the delayed gratification. It takes time to build a new habit, and yeah, that's one of the ways I would say habit change is done, making it easy.
I see. Making it easy. I was gonna ask, like, putting myself in the shoes of, let's say, someone who I come across a lot of people who aspire to, like, let's say, I want to work out 4 or 5 days a week, right? And they're not necessarily focused on like how they want to feel. They're just focused on the activity so that they can, let's say, lose the weight, right? And so I know you mentioned try to get as many wins as possible and kind of like lower the bar so you can get those wins. Is there anything else that you would advise for those sort of people who want to get to that like 4 or 5 days a week? But obviously starting off is really hard. What would you advise them?
Um, I would probably advise them to be patient with themselves, just like I said before. Um, I'm sorry, could you ask that question again?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, no worries. I guess aside from the gym thing, but like maybe let's pivot and say let's like nutrition, right? Let's
Mm-hmm.
say that obviously they need to like do the macros and the calories and stuff like that because they want to lose weight. But that needs to be a habit change, right? Like kind of reframing how they approach food. Do you have any sort of um, best practices to start off with if they want to, recomp their body and kind of have better eating habits?
Hmm. I think when it comes to something like that, I would say there's an activity that I do with some of my clients called the 5 Whys, and it's a very simple activity. All you do is just ask yourself why. So when it comes to nutrition, like I want to eat healthier. You just basically ask yourself, all right, why? Why do I want to eat healthier? And you just keep asking this like 5 times or even more if you want to get into the deeper root of why you want to do something. And I think by doing that, it gives you a deeper why and makes you more committed to what you're trying to do. So, let's say I have my client do that and they end up with the answer of, I want to eat better because I want to be a better parent. That's like the one thing they fall on. By having that deeper why, it'll be much more easier to commit to this goal of eating better for the week because you're not doing it because you want to be healthier. You're doing it because you want to be a better parent. So finding a deeper root, deeper purpose is a good way to make sure that a habit is followed. Or especially on a day where you don't feel great. I think having a deeper why to look back on is helpful.
I see. So like finding the purpose in what you do helps you commit to those actions a little bit better.
Mhm.
I love it. Cool. All right. anything else on the topic of mindfulness, gratitude, or habit change that you feel like we left out that you want to throw in there before we switch over to rapid fire?
Nothing that I want to add, but I just want to hammer in the fact again that you, you should. I advise everyone to practice gratitude. It makes you. It'll. It might not seem like it's working at the moment, but if you just keep practicing it, I promise you'll reap the benefits in the future. Maybe it's a month from now, maybe it's a year from now. It'll do wonders.
Totally agree. I will gratitude every day. I am grateful to almost have a six pack, and then I'll manifest it. Cool. All right.
Yeah, I gotta up my gratitude journaling too. I'm only doing 3. You're doing 30. I'm
Hey
trying to
man,
bump it up to
like
5 or
I've
something.
just been doing this for longer. You got it. It's fine. Plus, it's
Mhm,
like, sorry, just a quick tangent. It's like big things and little things too, right? So it's like, oh, my friend bought me food today. That's one thing I can be grateful for. I live in California, which is great because I could be living in a worse place.
mhm,
My family's healthy. I arrived safely the other day. I have cell service. Like it's like trivial things, but also the big things. And I kind of just
mhm,
mix it in and I kind of go on themes. And so sometimes they loop together. Like, oh, I'm grateful to have a phone and a laptop and, all this other stuff. And then, oh, well, I have to have gratitude for my car because I can't leave out my car if I just said my phone. So I have this weird sort of thought process, but it's 30 is not that bad. But for someone who
mhm,
my friends who don't do it at all, like they're like, wow, I can't even think of like 3 things. I'm like, "Trust me, you can, but it just takes some work."
mhm.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I hear you.
definitely. And you're on that too. I'm grateful to have a great fitness coach. I'm grateful that I had a workout routine. I'm grateful I made it into the gym. Like, sometimes I'll sequence it into that too, so all right, ready for rapid fire questions? Wrap this
Let's
up.
do it.
Cool. And, these are rapid fire questions, but you can answer them in as long as you want.
Okay.
Cool. First one is the billboard question. So, if you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
Do the thing that scares you. I think I put that on there.
Ooh, I like that. I like that a lot.
Mhm.
Any clarifications on that, or you think that's enough?
Yeah, I can clarify for sure. I think I forgot what I was listening to a podcast a while back, and I heard this very insightful quote, which is, everything you want is on the other side of discomfort. So, they were explaining like when you're a kid, you don't know how to walk yet, you don't know how to crawl, you just cry. That's all you know how to do at the moment. But from a little kid, you're learning how to do these things that are uncomfortable, which is you're learning to walk, you're learning to try and talk and communicate with all these people. And I think after a certain point in a lot of folks' life, we kind of tend to lean more into comfort. Um, I don't know when that usually happens, but it's I mean it's kind of what we're built as humans. We want to be comfortable, but I do think kind of trying to chase after something that seems unattainable or something that's scary is really helpful. It's how you grow as a person, and that could look like anything. Which is like maybe I'm scared to swim. I haven't learned how to swim yet in maybe 20 years. I should go take a lesson at the pool and conquer that fear. It builds a base of confidence, which is a common theme I'm talking about right now through this whole podcast. Confidence is key, and yeah, I do think you should just continue to do more scarier things.
Mm, I love it, and that quote was amazing. That's a really good quote. Um,
Mm.
what was I gonna say? Yeah, for the listeners there, just rewind the last like 30 seconds. That's it's worth your hour already just for that. All right, next one is what is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life, and what did you learn from it?
Mm, I think one of the hardest challenges I faced, I would look back to my childhood. Again, like I mentioned, growing up in Oakland is kind of a tough neighborhood. And I remember there was just this moment in time where I was starting to get bullied. Um, happens to a lot of folks, you get bullied. But it was kind of a very formative moment for me because I was like, all right, what am I supposed to do in this situation? Um, do I stay a scared kid? Do I confront this person? um I ended up going the route of trying to befriend everybody, trying to make everything funny at the time. So that's how I solved the problem. but I do remember just being really scared for my life at the time. You know, you're a kid. This is you got to go to school every day, and I just couldn't. I got faced with something very like a big challenge in my life, and that's kind of how I got over it.
Nice. I love it.
Mhm.
This is a new season 2 question, but this is called self-inflicted wound. So do you have a story about something that went wrong in your life that's your own fault? You can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
Mhm. Right off the bat, one thing that comes to mind is when I was going to school at UC Davis. I got put on. I almost got kicked out of school. So yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. I transferred over, started taking new classes, and I just kind of wasn't applying myself academically. Just going out partying, things like that. Definitely a self-inflicted wound. I was like this close to getting kicked out.
Mm.
I remember the morning of the meeting I had with the counselor to talk about my I think it's I already forgot the terminology, academic probation.
Yeah.
That night I had stayed out all night. Wasn't drinking, just hanging out, and I was like, oh man, I'm kind of tired. I'll just cancel on this I'll just cancel on this meeting and just reschedule it. And I remember sending the email, and then the counselor wrote back like, oh, no worries. Basically you're out of school.
Oh.
Come like whenever you can schedule a meeting again to come talk to us about next steps, let me know. And then I panicked. I was like, oh man, why did I lie? So I immediately emailed her back. I was like, oh, don't worry, I can come make it to this meeting. Um, yeah, so went in there, had a talk, and just had to really reassess my decisions at that moment.
Mm,
Luckily, I didn't get kicked out.
nice. It was like a
Mhm.
turning point. All right. If you could redo one thing, what would you do differently?
In life in general.
Yes. Life, general, doesn't matter.
Mhm. I think going like building off of the whole billboard question, I would do more things that scare me.
Mm,
I think I've done plenty of things growing up that I felt like I wasn't ready for, and I grew from it. And I think there were plenty more opportunities that were present that I could have just jumped on and try to improve.
mm. Just facing your fears and whatnot.
Mhm.
Cool. Next one. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now? Any age, any time period.
Mm, if I could give myself advice, it would be to seek out more teachers. The more you have, the better. Luckily for me, I did have a lot of mentors, and I think there are plenty more opportunities to find more. There's never a shortage of mentors to help you out in life.
Yes, definitely. I believe that. Hence why I'm trying to collect 1,000 gurus to share with people like
Oh
yourself.
yeah.
Cool. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
mm, this is a tough one. Can you repeat that question again?
Yeah. In the last few years, what new belief or behavior or habit has improved your life, if anything?
Mhm. Um, Honestly, I would say owning. I mean, I don't even know if it's a behavior or anything, but owning animals. I don't know
Mm.
if that answers the
Oh, no,
question properly,
yeah,
but
totally fine. How so?
I mean, growing up in an Asian household, we weren't didn't really show emotions that much growing up, and we never had any animals. So we had fish. You
Mm,
can't pet fish. I guess you can like fish, but you don't really grow an attachment to them.
right, right.
And yeah, I just wasn't really good at expressing my emotions growing up, and I think that's the biggest thing that really changed my life for the better is having an animal, learning unconditional love. Pretty much, like just coming home and seeing this thing, like excited to hang out with you,
Mm,
just changes your perspective on life, at
yeah,
least for me.
yeah. I feel like a lot of like pet owners would say the same thing. Who would you call successful, and how do you define success?
mm, I think I mean there are a lot of successful people out there. I guess a better what I would define as success is just someone who's happy. So I mean ultimately I'd say I'd say you're successful. You're practicing gratitude a lot. I'd say I'm successful. It's just ultimately, we're only on earth for so long. We don't have a long life, and I think the sooner you are happy about your life, the better. And as long as you're happy, you're successful. What more can you ask for? You can continue to strive for more goals, like reach more goals, but um you ultimately want to be grateful for what you have.
Nice. I love that.
Mhm.
If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try or what would you be doing right now?
Oh, probably. I think I would go the route of the astronaut. I
Oh
mentioned
yeah?
it earlier. Yeah, I would love to go to space.
Really?
It's like the new frontier. Like imagine just floating in space and seeing the
Oh,
Earth.
oh my god, that's like the reason why I don't want to be an astronaut. To each his own, I'm just saying, but the call for adventures is more for you than for me.
Oh yeah, if I knew there was a clear path, like, and it wasn't super competitive to get up there, I would, I
Mm.
would, I would do it in a heartbeat. Yeah.
Yeah. You're like it's
Mhm.
like that, that Asian astronaut who's like a doctor, like Navy SEAL, and now he's an astronaut. And those memes are like, this is the guy that your parents compare you to all the time. I thought
I
that's
I seen
hilarious.
that meme. Yeah,
Like, yeah, that's you, Ryan.
it's a
Um,
super Asian right there.
yeah. Man, sometimes like this is low key. I've only told a few people this, but now I guess all my audience will know. Like sometimes when I watch movies about space, I like low key get a panic attack because I'm like, I do not want to be in space. Like it just seems so, I don't know, unnatural for humans to be in a vacuum. But again, to each his own. That's just me.
Mhm,
Um, okay. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments you've ever made? For example, in time, money, or energy, or etc. Anything like that. Best
mhm.
investments.
Honestly, the best investment I've made so far is doing the whole going on the whole martial arts journey, jujitsu, things like that. First of all, it's good to know how to defend yourself. Hopefully, you'll never need to use it in your life, but having that skill really, I think, especially as a male, I've always had a big, like I was always, I don't want to say I had a big ego, but the ego would always talk in the back of my head, like I
Mhm.
look for fights when I'm drunk or something like that. You're just looking for trouble. And then after doing the whole jujitsu martial arts stuff, Muay Thai, it kind of calmed it down. Like I don't need to go seek out a challenge. I know that, okay, I could probably handle myself if something happens. So don't go seeking trouble. Huge huge Yeah, that was one big investment that I made that I love, and it continues to pay off. It's not only does it keep you fit, do you learn how to fight? It's a huge puzzle. Like, gosh, learning to grapple is, it's like learning how to walk again.
Mm.
Yeah, being on the ground and having someone on top of you, you just realize, like, oh man, I don't know what to do with my legs. Or something simple like that.
Definitely. I'm sure it's like the
Mhm,
self-confidence, right? Of like it's like you said, the physical part of it, but the self-confidence of like, no, you can handle yourself. I feel like it's big. That was a big reason why I like in high school. I took Taekwondo mostly to learn how to trick and look cool and stuff like that. But it
mhm,
was because I had this dream that I got into a fight and I couldn't fight back because I also didn't have really any formal training. And so the next
mhm.
day I was like, Mom, you gotta sign me up for something because I need to learn how to fight. And the rest was history from there. But yeah, highly recommend that. All right, last
Mhm.
couple. Any favorite recent purchase under $50 to $100 that has impacted your life in the last 6 months? We can change the parameters. It could be any sort of price range or time frame, but anything that, like a recent purchase that's relatively cheap that changed your life or impacted it.
Mhm. Um, let me think about what I purchased recently. Mm,
This is the consumerism question.
oh yeah. Yeah, I'm like blanking. Okay, it's not that recent. This is the first thing that kind of pops up into my head as a game changer. It'd be an air fryer.
Mm,
Um, that just changed my life. It's so easy.
yeah.
Rather than having to bake something or pan fry something, just throw it in the air fryer and it makes it super crispy. Yeah, chicken thighs never tasted better for me.
Oh, sounds so good.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so last rapid fire questions. Any favorite movies, books, videos, articles, or media that you share or recommend the most?
A book that I really like recommending to a lot of people is The Alchemist by
Mm,
Paulo Coelho.
such a
Uh,
good book.
yeah, it's a quick read. I think you get engaged in it. yeah, love the story they try or the message they're trying to impart on the book. In terms of fitness and nutrition, one book that I really been pushing out a lot or wanting people to read is it's called You Can't Fuck This Up by Adam Bornstein.
Mm,
And it's a it's a great book basically detailing how you can be successful with your diet and your fitness throughout life.
nice. I like that. Yeah, for any of you guys who don't know, I have a book summaries website, Yonocruz.com, and I have reviewed The Alchemist. Highly recommend it. Like Ryan said, it's a short read, but it's a fiction, but a lot of people, a lot of famous and accomplished people have recommended or pointed to that book as like a very concise but impactful read because of the message that it comes across. So, highly recommend it. Okay, all right. So let's go into ending questions, like kind of on theme, gratitude. Got this from my mom, and it's something we both practice. But Ryan, what are you grateful for?
Oh man, I'm grateful for. Do I name 30 things right now?
No, as many as you want, as little as you want.
All right, big things that pop up into my head. I'm grateful for my animals. I'm grateful to have a working car. As a mobile trainer, super important for me. Grateful for having clean water. Our tap water up here is great. Grateful for the internet. It connects people. Like you're out there. You're out there in SoCal. I'm in NorCal, and we're talking. I'm grateful for having shoes to wear. Keep my feet protected. I'm grateful for a functioning body. Yeah, I'm just grateful, man.
I love it. I love it.
Mm.
Oh man, on the walking thing too, man. Okay, quick tangent again.
Uh,
So many people, so I tell you, I do 10,000 steps a day on average, if not 12,000. And people are like,
mhm.
why? Like, oh, I don't want to walk and oh, I have to go downstairs, this park closer. And I'm like, guys, you do know there's going to be a day when you can't walk. And so why don't you just walk and walk with gratitude because your legs work? You know what I mean? Like, and it's also good for you and your health and everything like that. But I'm like, dude, just be grateful that you have legs to walk with and to complain about not using. So, you know what I mean? I don't know. It's just difference in mindset. Try not to go hard on people for that, but that's just how I see it.
Mhm. Yeah,
But yeah,
find different ways to motivate people, man.
yeah, exactly, exactly. And that's just my hard charging type A personality, I guess.
Mm,
Any final ask from the audience or any final takeaways that you'd like them to have from this conversation?
mm. For sure, final takeaway is to go start the thing. Just do it in
Yes.
whatever capacity you can. I mean, specifically if it's fitness and nutrition, go you know take the step, break it into a very easy step to follow. Like if that's I'm gonna go walk the neighborhood for 5 minutes. Boom, start with that. If it's I want to eat better, maybe I'll add some vegetables in every meal, or maybe I'll drink a glass of water with every meal. Just do the thing. um Oftentimes people overthink. You can sit there and try and create the best plan, and the best plan doesn't matter if you don't follow it. So take that step. And if you don't know where to start, I really advise you to follow me. I've been trying to put out content on Instagram and Facebook. You can follow me at Ryan Tern Fitness. If you're looking for coaching, if you're in the NorCal area, Oakland, I am a mobile trainer. Feel free to hit me up on my website or shoot me a message on Instagram, and we can get connected. Otherwise, if you just like accountability in general and want to work with the online trainer, you can also hit me up for that.
Nice. Thank you. That answers my next question of where they can find you, but I'll have all the links to your socials and your website and everything in the show notes. So thank you. And I think that should be it. So thank you, Ryan, for being here. Like I said, I really appreciate it. And then to the audience, my final sign off. Thank you guys for joining. I really appreciate that as well. I'm really grateful to each and every one of you, even if it's a small amount right now or a larger amount later on when you listen to it. Just a reminder to always be kind to others, especially yourself. And that a reminder that you can always learn something from someone if you just take the time to listen. So thank you for tuning in.